Please Not Bark. Please Not Bark. Based on books. Hello, friends. Alright, you guys might hear dogs in the background. If they bark too much, we'll stop and pause. But they're doing some work outside, and so anytime somebody comes by the window, they go a little crazy. So, I'm going to try and film this around all of that. Every April, my friend Erin co-hosts the Disability Readathon, and it's a readathon that is not necessarily a read-a-thon. The only rules is that any content that you consume, so this could be music or movies or games or YouTube videos, right? Or in my case, it could actually be books. The point is that all of the content that you're consuming has to be created by a disabled person. Okay? So again, my chosen format of content is books. So I'm reading books that were written by disabled authors. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. It's not going to be a vlog like you would normally get from me, but more of like a wrap-up in a vlog style. Recently, I've been doing a lot of not book-specific videos, and I've just been chatting about the books I'm reading within those videos. But I didn't want these books to get lost in the muck of all of that. I wanted to make sure they were showcased. So I'm going to do it in like a wrap-up style where I'm just going to read the books and then come and talk to you about them whenever I finish reading them, instead of waiting until the end and talking about all of them all in one day. So vlog-ish style, but more of like a wrap-up. Yeah. So I have finished one book for this readathon this month, which was The Centaur's Wife by Amanda Leduc. It is kind of hard to explain because it's weird. It's weird. So we have this book, which is written in a dual timeline, where in the past timeline, it's like far past, and it's written more as stories, like folktale type stories or fairy tale type stories. And then in the present day, we're following these people during an apocalypse. So it starts when there was like a meteor shower and it destroys the world, basically. A lot of people die, and then we follow them as they learn to sort of survive in this new world. And we're more specifically following this one town that is nestled in the shadow of this mysterious, magical, almost sentient mountain. And as the book progresses, and we keep flopping back and forth between those past stories and then the present day, we kind of see how those stories and the people in the present day are linked together. Like, I really liked the atmosphere of the book as far as like the tone of it. It felt very much like a dark fairy tale, and it was very episodic. As we were flopping back and forth between the timelines, a lot of time would have passed since the last time we were in that viewpoint. And so we're getting like little snippets of what's happening in both timelines. So it's very episodic. Like, we don't really get to know what happens in between the times that we're away from that time period. We just kind of gather of what's happening during that moment. And I mean, I liked the way it was written, and I liked the tone of it, and that it felt very much like a folklore fairy tale. But it was really weird, and nothing was really explained as far as the weirdness. But I suppose it lends itself to making it feel more like that fairy tale vibe. So I guess I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. I mean, it was fine. It was not a bad book, but I'd say like maybe 3 stars if I were to rate it. Alright, I don't know if I explained any of that very well, but one book down. I am currently in the middle of reading my second book. and I will come back to you once I've done that. Alright, so I finished my second book, which was Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonam-Young, and I loved it so much. This is a romance, just a contemporary romance, where both of our main characters are disabled. So we have the woman, what was her name? Winnie, and she was born with a small hand. I don't know exactly what it's called, but she has a hand that's not quite all the way developed. And then we have Bo, who is an amputee, and it's just so sweet. The premise of this love story is an accidental pregnancy, so if you don't like that, just know that it's there. But I think it was handled really well. And so it was like one night they meet at a Halloween party. They have what they assume is going to be a one-night stand. 6 weeks later, Wynn finds out that she's pregnant and she has to call Bo, and then everything just goes from there. And I loved it so much because there was no miscommunication at all. There was no stupid drama that just happened. It just was about these two people in a situation that they got themselves into together, having fantastic communication and just talking things out and very slowly getting to know each other and falling in love. And it was just so sweet. They are a great couple, and I loved it so much. So if you're looking for a really sweet romance with good disabled representation, highly recommend that one. I think I gave it like 5 stars. I loved it. It was so good. Alright, I finished my last book, which was Sipping Dom Perignon Through a Straw by Ndopu. And as I said before, this was the group read for the readathon. And it was a memoir of Eddie and his time and struggles of receiving an education through the Oxford graduate program, and everything that entailed of him coming from, he's from South Africa, so he had to get from South Africa to England and having care, 24-hour care all along the way, to and from and throughout the entire graduate program, and all the struggles that entailed. He's also intersectional, as in he is disabled, he's Black, and he is queer. So it's sort of the struggle of that whole intersectionality as well. I don't want to say I didn't like it, because I mean, it was fine. And I'm certainly not going to rate it as it's someone's life, but I myself didn't really connect with Eddie, even though Eddie and I do have the same disability. I think it was the writing of this book that I didn't like. I felt like it was very overwritten, and a lot of the remembered conversations were full-on conversations. Like he was writing a novel rather than a memoir, as in like, I said this and then he said that, he said, she said, and it just felt very staged, and I just couldn't connect with Eddie or any of his family or friends because of the way it was written. I think there were a couple of lines in there that really resonated with me, and I'm like, yes, this is true. And even though objectively, Eddie and I share all of the exact same struggles when it comes with our disabilities and navigating the world and life in general. Like, I fundamentally connected with him. It's just not, I think, again, the writing stopped me from emotionally connecting with him. But I still think that if you are completely new to the struggles of any physically disabled person, this is an easy one to start with. It's pretty short. I think it's less than 300 pages. And I had the audiobook, which was actually narrated by Eddie himself. And as I've said multiple times on this channel, I love it when authors narrate their own audiobooks. And so while this one was not for me, and I think there are better ones out there for me and my specific taste, that'll kind of give me more of that connection that I expect in a memoir, especially when I share so much similarities with the topic of the memoir and the person writing it. It was interesting for me to kind of see those added marginalities that Eddie has that I don't have, and how they interlaced with his disability struggles as far as like getting care and keeping care and all of that. But again, I didn't love it. I'm not reading it at all because it's his life. So there's not much else I have to say about it. I do love this readathon, and I do participate in it every year. And so if this interests you at all, I will link all of the information to the readathon in case you want to participate in it yourself next April. But as always, I thank you so very much for being here, and I hope that means I see you soon.